There's a difference between being busy and being effective. As a change maker, you may find yourself buried under endless to do lists, unsure if the work you're doing is making progress. Without operational clarity, it's easy to spend energy on tasks that feel urgent but offer little progress. This episode breaks down how to assess what your organization truly needs so you can move forward with precision. We'll also be announcing something, I would say three somethings at the end of this episode. So be sure to listen to the end. One of them being the Momentum Icon grant designed to help you as a change maker gain the clarity and support you need to take things to the next level. Welcome to Impact Innovators with Felicia Ford, where we dive into the strategies that empower changemaker brands to leave a lasting legacy. Think of this podcast as your audio playbook for meaningful action. What's possible when thought leaders, disruptors, and pioneers align to share their journeys? I'm Felicia Ford, your host, bringing together the brightest minds and the most groundbreaking ideas to help you drive change, navigate through the sticky stuff, and elevate your brand. Whether you're tackling funding hurdles, looking for growth strategies, or seeking the perfect balance between profit and purpose, we've got you covered. Stay tuned and be a part of a movement that's setting new benchmarks in how we think about progress, community, and doing. Let's innovate, impact, and inspire. All right, friends. Hey there. Welcome back. Today, we're talking about something that might not seem exciting on the surface, but trust me, getting clear on your operations is a game changer. If you want to create sustainable impact, you need solid systems to back you up. Let me tell you about one of the programs that I created during my fellowship at Harvard University. It was called True Comeback. And the problem of truancy in, I would say, many school districts across the nation became more, uh, seen once we all entered into the great change that was in 2020, right? So we know that schools are inundated with several challenges. We've got behavioral challenges. We've got, of course, kids are there to learn, right? There's education, but then there's other dynamics of what it looks like to operate a school system that just didn't exist many years ago. Okay. So I was a part of this multidisciplinary team for about 12 years at this point when I identified this was the challenge that I wanted to tackle as a fellow. And what I quickly discovered when I was developing my problem statement was that, okay, we've got a great mission here. We've got a great purpose. We're doing some great work serving students and their families, but there needs to be some type of operational support, some type of operational plan. So it wasn't until, I started looking at how this worked that the organization that I was working with at the time saw some real progress in how they approach the problem differently. Okay. And that's what we're exploring today. So we've got four segments. I've got four segments to share with you on exploring your operations, right? So, the first thing that we're going to talk about is out evaluating your current operations. So, let's start by taking a quick inventory. If you're running on fumes, constantly juggling too many things, you've got meetings, you've got staff knocking on your door, you've got to be in another city for a presentation, you've got an RFP due, it's end of year, you're working on grants and Giving Tuesday, it's a sign you need an operations check-in. Okay, so here are three questions that I want you to ask yourself. Number one, what's working well right now? Okay. What is working well for you right now? Number two, where are things starting to slip? Are you forgetting to respond to email messages? Are referrals coming through, but the intake process isn't exactly where you'd like it to be to fully represent your organizational culture? Okay. Which tasks feel like they're taking too much of your time or your energy? And for me, this looks like going to a meeting and having more to do after the meeting than I came into the meeting with, right? But these questions are for you. Okay. But I recommend that you take 10 minutes after this episode to jot down some answers. Okay. Even a small reflection can help you spot where things need adjusting. If you are a licensed agency, if you're, working in mental health or education or some of the industries that have operational policies and procedures, then this may seem like something that you don't need to do. But friends, I'm telling you, I've worked with plenty of mental health agencies, substance abuse agencies, um, individual therapeutic practices. And while you do have what you need from the state and from DMAS or DBHDS, you still need the operations management part for your teams and the people processes that will come about in your work. Okay. They also don't tell you, how to do intake and what to do when there's a problem. And so there's so many different nuances in there, right? If you're a corporation or a small business, you might have an employee handbook. And if you're a nonprofit, that's an extension of a national nonprofit. You might have some things that have come down the pike from your national headquarters. But, if you are grassroots, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are um, a creator, okay, then this is where you want to explore your need for operational tasks. And these are simply things that you repeat on a daily, weekly, quarterly, monthly basis, right? And it's a written step of how to get things done in your work. Okay. Now, some people just do and they do and they know, like, okay, this is what I got to get done. And they just do it. So I want you to think about that thing. And that's what you want to write down. All right. So, step number 2 here is identifying gaps and priorities, right? So, now that you've looked at what's working and what's not, the next step is to identify gaps and then to set priorities. It's easy to get overwhelmed. Now, I'm going to say, gosh, I forget who says this, but it's like, I'm not available to overwhelm, right? So, but we know in working in this field, the nature of the change making, it's easy to kind of get overwhelmed. We're constantly exposed to trauma. We're constantly exposed to change. Some of it not great change, right? And you might think that you need to fix everything at once, but that is not the goal here, my friend. The goal is to identify a gap, right? And to set a priority or 1 to 3 priorities, okay? So you want to start with the most essential areas. So, for example, because it's October, November 1 is right around the corner, and you're listening to this episode on ooh, let's see, the 5th, maybe? Yeah, it's voting day. Yeah. So, your goal may be something related to end of year. So Giving Tuesday, or it may be related to Black Friday or Small Business Saturday. All right. So if one of those things feels like the bottleneck for you, focus on that first. Okay. The goal is progress and not perfection. Um, for example, one of my clients thought that they needed to focus on growing their team and expanding into a new city. They thought that their problem was sales, but what I identified the problem as was not sales, right? Like, not saying it wasn't a problem at all, but one of the priorities was that they first needed a system to coordinate communications between the team that was generating leads, the team that was closing, right, that lead, and then focusing on the process of assigning the case, the intake process, and then communicating to all parties who are involved in that process. Okay, so sometimes things are just a little bit more complicated than we think on the surface. But step number 3, okay, we're moving pretty quickly. There's only 4, we're halfway there. So, step number 3 is aligning operations with your mission. Okay, here's the thing, Your operations should support your mission, not distract you from it. Okay. If your systems feel clunky, or here's that word again, overwhelming, it's hard to focus on the work that you care most about. I absolutely love creating. I absolutely love sitting across from um, a change maker and exploring with them how we're going to create something on their behalf. Okay. That's where I thrive. I thrive in the curation. I thrive in the putting it all together and then adding deadlines to things and then seeing it come to fruition. Okay. So if you're bogged down in emails, all right, or there's just a lot of admin in your day-to-day processes, consider how that affects your ability to serve your community, right? I mean, I know clients who excel at applying for RFPs, right? Where some people, it might freak them out like, oh my God, here's another RFP and it's due in 10 days. And, we've got all of this going on. But they're challenged with sustaining a culture that retains team members. And so this is not a point of looking at like how bad you are. It's not that. It's looking at what your strengths are and what you could strengthen, right? And that's how we want to frame this process. Okay. So think about it. What's one operational challenge that's been draining your energy? Okay. Now, this next step, I think for some people is a challenge sometimes to consider because as a small business owner, in some levels and with some nonprofits and in some change making spaces, budget is like, oh my goodness, we can't afford another thing. Now, we're going to talk about money mindset on another day. But some things, my friend, you can't afford not to do. And this is one of them. So, number four, outsourcing and automation. When and how? Okay. Sometimes the best way to get clearer on your operations is to let go of what you don't need to be doing yourself. Okay. That's where outsourcing and automation come in. I'm just going to give an example. So, when I first started my podcast in April of 2024, I knew going in that my plate was already full. I operate a nonprofit and Felicia Ford and Co. Right? I like my life. I love my life. I love brunches. I love going to the park. I love spending time with my nieces. I love spending time with my loved ones. Right? I wasn't looking to add anything else to my plate, but I knew that with producing a podcast, there would be research, there would be writing, there would be topics, there would be organizing guests, there would be the setup and the admin and the promotions of it all. I knew going in that I needed someone else to handle the parts of it that didn't, naturally feel like things that either I would want to do or things that I would not need to learn. Oh my gosh, editing. Whew, whole lot. Right? So if you go back and listen to episode 32 with my guest, Steph Gass, Steph talks about all the reasons why you as a business owner could thrive and become pretty lucrative in your podcasting if that's something that you wanted to do. And one thing that she also mentioned during that time was her course on podcasting and how you can monetize your podcast. For Steph, that's been pretty incredible for her. She's a business coach and a podcast coach, and she teaches you those operational things. Now, I didn't know that before I started my podcast, but when I go back and like comb through some of her lessons and workshops, I'm like, oh, that's super smart. Oh, that's super great for organizing. Some of those things the public doesn't see, but these are things that help you show up in your spaces so that you can be the best you that you can be. Okay. So when it comes to outsourcing and automation, you want to ask yourself, what tasks need your personal touch? Number one. Number two, what can someone else handle more efficiently? Okay. So, what I decided was to hire someone else to handle my editing. I also hired someone else to handle posting and the distribution of the podcast. And When I started to pick up with guests, then I hired someone to navigate that process for me. Okay. So if you've never tried outsourcing or automations, then you can start small. Okay. So maybe it's automating your email responses or hiring a virtual assistant to help with scheduling. And you can have a virtual assistant even if you have a brick and mortar business, right? You don't have to have an in-person assistant just because you have an office space in your community. Okay. One of my favorite tools for automation, especially when you're leading a team and you have multiple things on your plate, is Asana. And Asana allows me to get all of my projects, due dates out, and assign them, and I can see everything in one place. There are different tiers, so even with a free account, you can really get a robust um, production going on there. Okay. If you're not there yet, another great tool for you might be something to help you collect data and analyzing it and reporting out to your stakeholders on your outcomes and your progress. This is great for both nonprofits and for profits. For nonprofits, it's great because you want to be able to communicate to people, for example, that it takes $250 to provide X amount of hours of tutoring per month, right? These are the concrete, KPIs that you want to capture so you don't have to think, oh, we need a data analyst on staff, or we need to know a lot about statistics to gather our numbers and to communicate our analytics. You don't need that at all, friend. You just need to know what you're capturing, what tool to use. And I promise you, so what I use is Typeform, and I'll link that in the show notes as well as on the platform so that you can have access to um, seeing if that's something that will work out for you. But either way, it's something that can help you communicate your outcomes to your audience, whether that's potential donors, potential stakeholders, potential sponsors. And even you might, have some KPIs around retaining team members and saying, I've got someone that's been with me for 10 years, or I've got someone who was with me at one company and then now they're back with me again, right? That says something about you as a person. It says something about you as a brand. Okay. So those are things that you can do when you're considering outsourcing and automation. Okay. Every bit of clarity that you gain here opens up space for you to do what you're really called to do, right? Like Felicia Ford and Co., there are one, two, three, four, five people who are on my team right now. But typically, when people want growth strategy, they want me. They want to work directly with me. And in order for me to be able to be present, fully present for each of my clients and what they need, and in order for me to be able to create for them and on behalf of them, I have to have my team, right? I have to have my team responding to messages, coordinating conversations, coordinating uh, podcast interviews. I have to have them talking with other people. Like it just has to happen that way. But then you get me. Okay. So here's your challenge, my friends, as we close. And my close is going to be a little longer, okay? Because I got some reminders and some things to announce, which I think you're going to be really excited about. But take 10 minutes this week to conduct an operations audit. And today is Tuesday, so hopefully you're hearing this today. But do this before Thursday afternoon, okay? Identify what's working, what's not, and what you can improve. And then I want you to bring those insights to our first fireside chat this Thursday at 2 p.m. And we're going to dig into those challenges together. All right. So come ready to let me know what's working, what's not working, and where you can improve. And then I want to talk that through with you. Okay. You can register for this session on my website. And that's going to be media.feliciafordandco.com/events. Okay. And if you're in my email community, no problem. Check your messages. This is going to be the first of a 3-part session that is complimentary to you. So be sure that you join. Okay. And then I have some other exciting news for you, friends. The Momentum Icon grant is now open for applications. Okay. I'm really excited about this. Okay. This is an incredible opportunity valued at $3,500. It allows one of you to work directly with me and my team. Okay. This is thanks to a generous anonymous donor. This grant will help you maintain momentum in your growth, where we will create a campaign for your grant, for your brand. All right. If you're looking to get more attention on, an established brand, business, nonprofit, or you have a new product or service and you need some attention around it, this is for you, whether you're online or you're brick and mortar. I'm excited to connect with you. You will be able to work with us one-on-one. The winner will be announced on December 31st, 2024. And I'd love for you to just take advantage of this. All right. So for more information and to apply, you can head over to our website, media.feliciafordandco.com/grant. Don't miss this, friend. This could be exactly what you need to kick off 2025 even stronger. Okay. So speaking of incredible opportunities, all right, our next issue of Strategic Edge Power Moves for Businesses and Nonprofits is on its way. I think this might be the first time I'm saying this in public, but the Golden Hour edition features over 20 changemakers and contributors, all sharing their knowledge and expertise on these pivotal moments where preparation, meets opportunity. Okay. You can join the waitlist at media.feliciafordandco.com/power moves to get on the waitlist and be one of the first people to see this oh my gosh, I saw the cover image last week, and I am just so amazed at this entire experience. And I can't wait for you to see it. All right. Lastly, my friends, if you match my energy, you want some more time with me one-to-one, and you want to receive some personalized direction. If you're ready to receive, you're ready to make power moves, I invite you to join the launch team. Help us create a moment worth talking about and elevate your own game in the process. All right. Here's what's in it for you. First, you'll be the first to see the magazine before the rest of the world does. Your name will be etched in this milestone moment. We'll share that you are a part of the launch team. You get to roll with other changemakers in a private Slack space. And then I offer for you to be a part of Elevation Day, which is a time for us to get together in a mastermind setting virtually designed to lift you higher. Okay. What I would need from you, you'll just simply want to visit, again, media.feliciafordandco.com/work with us. And then you'll see a link for the launch team there. There's no guesswork, no stress. We've got swipe copy and visuals ready for you. Make the move, my friend. Come and join us. Thank you for tuning in. If this episode made a difference for you, please do share it with someone who needs it, okay? And I'll see you Thursday on the Fireside Chat. Talk soon.
Hey, Changemaker, real quick before you go, if today's episode helped you in some way, the best way to thank me is to head over to Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the channel, and leave a review. I'd also love to connect with you over on social. You can find me at Friends Call Me Fee. Until next time, keep changing the game.